Welcome everyone. Welcome to Butcher and the Beard. I'm David Butcher. That's John Shanley. How's everyone doing
Good
today?
morning.
Good morning. Good
Happy
morning.
Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. It's almost
Got a
March.
little weekend recap. Um, some stuff. We watched that race, Morgan. That was really fun.
Yeah.
A lot of crashes. I don't know if it's just because it's a fast racetrack and it was a little bit different, but I don't know. It felt like they were crashing every like 5 laps. So there was 11 cautions or whatever, and you know, it's always fun when they don't end in a caution because then it's like, whoever was in the lead within like 3 laps to go, they're just going to win because somebody crashed. It was an exciting finish where they actually had 3 cars, at
Yeah.
a photo finish. And, you know, it overall was fun. But like, if they're going to crash like this every single week, you're going to turn like a 3 hour event into like a 5 hour event. So,
Yeah.
um,
That's
we'll see how that goes. I know different tracks are different things, and we'll enjoy it as it's going forward. But for me, Wallace, he impressed me the most. He ended up finishing third in that photo finish, but that dude was like taking people out early. He was just like, all right, I'm gonna bump you and then go around, and then the other people would crash. So like, I don't know, man. I thought that was actually kind of neat. Like I respected that. He's just like, get the fuck out of my way. I'm fucking taking this bitch. And he had one, I think, last year at this trace, and I guess he does really well at these types of tracks. So that was pretty fun. The other note that I had was the one guy who finished. He technically finished second, but the only reason he was even in first is because of his teammate, who I thought was driving a better race. His teammate was leading for a while. Let me go. Those guys' names. Cindric. That's the guy who I thought was doing really really well. He ended up finishing in fourth. But Ryan Blaney, I guess, is his teammate, and like for a long time, like Cedric was winning, and he was actually driving really good. He was avoiding all the accidents. He was just kind of like doing his thing. But then his teammate Blaney, who is like one of the favorites to like win the whole thing, he gets in the lead, and then instead of Cedric kind of going for it himself, he just helped him and was drafting him and pushing him and giving him the you know helping him do that kind of stuff. And I don't get that. Like, I don't understand. Like, teammates things I get because playing a team sport, but NASCAR is not supposed to be a team sport. It's supposed to be individual. So I don't understand like why you would like. I mean, I get if you didn't have a shot, and let's say you were like 2 laps behind.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna get behind you and I'm gonna help you. But if I have a shot to win and you have a shot to win, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, bitch, get out of my way. you
Well,
know,
you I know I
I
don't
don't
know
understand
the
the whole
way
thing.
you would help your teammate win the race, but I know that when you guys draft together, you both go way faster. You go from like that
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
165 to 170 to like 192 something because you're using the wind momentum. But then
Right.
where does it come to play where now you draft off him to come in there and then try to beat him? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because you're only linking up like the draft with each other so that you can get top speed out of these cars because you're really not pushing, you're
Mm-hmm.
really just drifting and you're using your
Oh yeah,
momentum.
you're using the momentum of the 2 years, but then
Yeah.
you can actually do the shake and bake thing, which is what they talked about
Yeah.
in that
The slingshot. Yeah,
movie,
this.
where you can pop them and then you can get that momentum to swing in front of the dude. So,
Yeah, and win. But that's like, dude, like I don't see that happening that much. They're racing so close to
oh
each
yeah,
other that how do you get enough movement and enough speed to like get to the right of that person or left of that person to propel forward and win that race like by a freaking like you have to it's these drivers are getting
yeah.
good, man, like, and it's
The
also
other thing though is like I don't like I said, it's been years uh since I watched NASCAR. So like I'm watching it again, and you know, I understand certain things strange, but I don't remember them crashing as much as they did. And the announcer just like, oh, these these drivers are just being so aggressive now, and I'm like, are they really being aggressive, or they just don't know how to fucking drive the way they used to back in the fucking 70s? The
like
other part of it is the technology is so much better. It's like maybe they are more aggressive because they feel like the car can handle it, and they don't have to actually be as good of a driver as you had to be
yeah.
back in the day.
or the
Who's the other guy that?
or the
Let me
cars
see.
are
Who's the other
10
guy?
times faster now.
Was it Hamlin? Hamlin was the guy. The guy won the pole, but then they showed he had to finish dead last because he had something on his glove, like a little bit of a webbing thing,
Yeah,
and that was deemed illegal. So even though you won the pole and you were supposed to finish like in the front row, you were supposed to start in the front row. They made him finish. They made him start in the dead
because he had
last
a
because he had some kind of web thing on his glove. I don't know how that makes a difference. I mean, I guess maybe you can have a little bit of extra grip when the wheel is turning, but like that makes no fucking sense. So he was punished. And to the dude's credit, like at one point he was in second place,
yeah.
like because it's they do
Danny
400
Hamlin,
laps
Danny
or
Hamlin.
400 miles. Yeah, Hamlin. So then he was,
Yeah, he's
and
good.
then like he was there, and then he was kind of in the middle again, and then someone he was like I think he was like eighth or ninth, and then someone took him out. It was probably Wallace.
Yeah, probably.
I'm sorry, it was probably Kyle Busch.
Oh,
Bush is the guy I was talking about. I might have
yeah,
said
yeah.
Wallace,
You
but
said Wallace. Yeah, it was
um,
Kyle. Because I was
I'm not
like, I
saying
think
the name, but
Morgan told
Kyle
me
Busch is the
that.
dude I was talking about,
Yeah,
and he was in his Cheddar's car,
he was in his
and
cheddar
like
car.
that dude was just like he was balling, and then he
Yeah,
was like taking people out, like not purposely, but he was just like
yeah. That's how he
he would
drives.
nudge him, and
Yeah,
then
he
he would
drives.
fucking go around, and then the other dude would just fucking wipe out. So like I was just, and then like there was a lot of accidents, especially early, where he did not really like Bush didn't really cause it, but he just kind of like got out of the way, and he was
Yeah,
like if somebody was gonna ram into him, and then he just kind of like he
yeah.
caused them to
He
start
avoided them.
an
He avoided
accident,
those
which was
accidents. Yeah.
right.
He's good, man.
But
He's been
it
close.
was
I don't know
where
if he.
literally it was only like I think that by the end of the race there was literally only like five cars that weren't involved in one of the records,
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy. But
But
those are.
anyway, that was a lot of fun. I can't wait to the next race. Um, Hockey's going strong. Looks like the Lightning won the last couple of games. Rangers
Yeah.
won 10 in a row, but then they finally lost. It was the second night of a back to back, and like I was
Yeah.
watching that game, and their legs weren't. They just looked like a team on the second night of a back to back. And it's not even like you're at home. Like it's different if you're back to back at home, but if
Yeah.
like you're on the road and you're traveling, and then you got the next night,
Yeah. I
again, I
thought we
know
were gonna
they're
lose to
professional
Big
athletes and
Devils.
blah blah blah, but you're gonna be fucking tired, dude.
Yeah.
And especially if you're going up against a team that's home and rested. I know Columbus does not have a good record, but you're a professional, you're home, you're amped, you're a young team, and then you got this team that's a little tired, a little beat up, putting their backup goalie in, and then shit happens. So I'm not too worried about it. We're still tied for the number one set of points in the East. So
Yeah.
it's going to be us or Boston to be number one. And as of right now, the Lightning are only a point behind the second, the second wild card. But they right now they're the second wild card. They're a point behind the first wild card.
Yeah. And like eight
So
points or 9 points in front of the other teams.
yeah, and then they're like, oh, because they played the Devils, who's
Yeah. They.
behind them, but like literally, uh, yeah, Detroit has got 70 points. The Lightning has 69, and then the next closest team is Washington, who's got 63. Like you're
Yeah.
literally 6 points behind you, which at this late in the season, it's huge. And now you got the trade deadline coming up, and I do find that out of all the major sports, hockey is interesting because their trade deadline is much further into the season than
Yeah.
the other stuff. You know what I mean? Like baseball trade deadline is pretty much early. Same thing with NBA. It's before the All Star break, so uh, that's why you could see like dramatic shifts in teams so late in the season. Like you could have a team that's like barely
Yes.
making the playoffs,
Yep.
and then they make some incredible trade at the deadline, and then they go into the playoffs as an 8 seed, and they're just fucking incredible
Yeah.
because of that trade.
Yeah. That makes a
So
big difference because if you're only one or half a piece of white, and you're only losing
Hmm.
games by a goal, and you see that this one
Right.
guy would be really good on one line of yours, like out of your lines, and then he comes in there and he
Right.
propels that
And then you
line,
solidify the line, and
dude.
yeah.
Dude, I remember getting Yanni Gord. I think Yanni Gord like late in the round, like when we won our first Stanley Cup, I think, and we got him late,
Uh
like
huh.
in the thing, and then he came in. I think it was him and Blake Coleman or whatever, and we got them super late. Like they're like, oh, we're trading for Blake Coleman and Yanni Gord, like first round picks and all this. I'm like, why so damn late? And then they come in there, and then they're already like they're already like superstars, like in the making, like for the Lightning, and they bring us on a run, and then we win the Stanley Cup, and you're like, wow, I didn't think
Yeah.
that was gonna be so, so outrageously good because it's like, well, you never know what you're gonna get right there, and you don't know who's willing
No.
to part ways with people, and the later it is in the season, like the more the ownerships and the GMs or whatever they're called, I
It
don't know if
changes
they're
dramatically.
GMs, yeah, the management, they're gonna be like, okay, we don't have a chance. Let's get some draft picks. There's a good couple young kids out there in the draft. Let's just give this guy away for a couple of draft picks and move on with our thing. That this guy, let's get him before the cap thing is weird in hockey because it's like literally 1 week this, 1 week that. You got to sit down people. It's a crazy thing. One day they have to skate with like 7 defensemen because they can't pay the salary cap for their like offensive
Right.
pieces. It's just weird. I still don't understand it to this day, and I've been watching hockey for a while because I'm like, this is just
And 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 then there's the big market teams that could be like, yeah, we can pay whatever the fuck we want. You know what I
no, no,
mean?
no, no.
But like,
There's
it
the
doesn't matter.
yeah,
Like the game is so competitive, and like we talk about like how any team could win, and then dynasties really aren't a thing. In the NHL, it's that they've had parity pretty much since forever. Like they did have the last true dynasty was probably the Islanders who won 4 in a row, and that's only happened once. You've had teams win 2 in a row, but that's not like really a dynasty. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? You could be good like the Red Wings in the early 2000s and late 90s where you won like three, or even the Devils, they won like three Stanley Cups over a period of like 8 years. So like, is that the dynasty? Not really, but you've been really good and competitive, and you get there. The Lightning in the last few years, they had won 2 in a row, they made it to 3 in a row, and they're still really good. And in fairness, like they could still win another cup within the next, I don't know, 3, 4 years. They could even do it this year if they get in there. I saw, you talked about in the beginning of the year how they didn't really have younger guys playing well, but now their younger guys are playing really well. So they actually do have some younger talent playing, and it's been a big part of what they've been doing.
yeah,
They're actually only they're 69 points. Toronto's got 74. They're technically in their division or their conference, whatever they want to call it. So you're only 5 points behind them. But the problem is they have 3 games in hand on you guys. You've already played 60 games. They've only played 57.
yeah,
So unless Toronto goes on a bad losing streak, I mean, there is still plenty of games left. You're looking at 22 games left for the Tampa, and 25 games left for Toronto. So that's still a quarter of the season, but it feels like once you get to this point, like six points, unless you go, like I said, you have a major injury, you have a big losing streak, a lot of that's not going to change.
yeah,
But again, you can get somebody at the trade deadline, and then all of a sudden, you could be like Washington, who's 63 points. They're 6 points out of a playoff spot, and all of a sudden that trade makes them fucking win like 9 or 10 in a row, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, maybe they can make it interesting. But as for right now, as long as everybody stays on cruise control, um, I'm really hoping that, however, because like I said, like Boston and the Rangers both have the Rangers at 59 games, they're at 81 points. Boston's at 60 games with 82 points. So one of them's going to get probably number one, although Florida's only 2 points behind that mix too.
yeah,
So one of those teams will get the number one seed. I really don't really hope that, however it shakes up with the if the Lightning get a wild card, that they don't play the Rangers in the first round, because I think this show it'll be a lot more fun if we if our two teams met in like the conference finals like we did
Yeah.
a few years back. You know, I don't want to see, because I don't want to see one of us go home in the first round. You know,
Yeah, that's
I'm
not.
not going to sit here and talk we could win or lose, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's hockey. Any team can win or lose, but I don't want to see them play each other in the first round just because, it'll make our show so much more fun if we're both going through, different teams and we did make it to the conference finals against each other, but, at the same time, then it's like, okay, one of our teams might be out in the first round, and it's like,
Yeah,
it's
that's
gonna
the.
suck,
Yeah.
You want to keep going. So, like I said, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope however they finish, I hope I'd rather see Tampa play Boston, or I would really love to see Tampa play Florida.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. That's always a great first round matchup. Tampa and the fucking
Yeah.
you
We
know Florida
we lose to
met
them
in
in
the
the
playoffs.
regular
You guys
season.
beat.
Yeah, we lose in the regular season, but we know how to beat them in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna tell you right now,
Oh yeah,
people are gonna want Lightning to play the Florida Panthers because for some reason we have their number in the playoffs, and that's gonna help out everybody else. You know what I mean? There's some teams in the playoffs that have other people's numbers, and that helps out because if we would have beaten the Maple Leafs last year, we would have
yeah.
probably beat the Panthers, and we probably would have went to the Stanley Cup again. You know what I mean? Like that's how I see it. Envision
Well,
it.
and the funny thing is you had the Maple Leafs number, all like you had beat them like 4 straight years or whatever it
Yeah,
was, and the Rangers are like that with Carolina. Like they Carolina had whatever one of the best records in the league, and then the Rangers beat them in the playoffs, and they
yeah,
beat them in the playoffs I think the year before or whatever. So that'll be it. Detroit's going to be an interesting team too because like they're the number one wild card right now, but they're not. I don't see them being a great team. I'm surprised they're actually in that spot. But as an organization, I like the Red Wings. I think that'll be fun. But I don't. I would rather play them in the first round. I think that would be
yeah,
really fun. Rangers, Red Wings. Original six matchup. Blue shirts versus red shirts. You know what I mean? It
yeah.
doesn't get any more simple from like when I was in grade school. It's like okay, we're going to gym class. There's the blue team and there's the red team.
That's
It's
it.
field day. It's the blue and the red. Like they're your primary sports colors of two different teams. So I think that would be a lot of fun. First round matchup. The other teams in here, Philly. I don't know. I've watched Philly, win some games and then get spanked. So like I don't know. I don't think they're a very good team, but that's just how the season goes sometimes. Toronto, Florida, and Carolina. The other Boston. They've been staples the last couple of years in the playoffs, so
Yeah.
it's not surprising that they're. It's not surprising that Tampa's there. So we'll see. We'll see how it works out. We got a quarter of the season left. We'll see what happens at the trade deadline. Any rumors that you guys are looking for something? I know the Rangers are always looking for
Yeah,
something,
probably
but
a defenseman because I know what's name got hurt from you guys.
yeah,
What's name
yeah.
Surgeon.
That wasn't a dirty play
No,
though.
no, no. I'm just saying he got hurt like from that game. Like that's what I meant to say. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah. He knows he didn't put no bad blood out there. Nobody put bad blood out there. You know what I mean? It happens. It's the game of hockey. You know what I mean? But it's always good to have some defense because like they're the last line of defense. But I want a defensive man like Victor Hedman that like actually shoots the puck. You know what I mean? They actually
yeah.
they've been putting what's name in back there farther, not as a D man, but putting Kucherov back farther into that slot right now, and it kind of makes sense because he's such a good passer and he shoots from there, and people don't notice that. Like, hey,
Right.
because like they're not saying to make dumb shots or make dumb opportunities, but sometimes if you shoot that
Right.
way, you don't know what the puck's gonna redirect itself. You know what I mean? And sometimes you
Yeah.
need to just shoot the puck, let somebody that's in the front. It could even be the guy that's even on their own team hits them in the shoulder. If the puck's in the motion and it hits the shoulder, it doesn't matter how it goes in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not a kick. It's not a kick puck. And it's not a high stick. It can go right into the goal. It doesn't matter. And the goalie's gonna look at his teammate and be like, "Why were you standing there?" You know what I mean? Because it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So, but
Yeah.
we'll see. We got a couple.
I mean, there's not a lot of defensemen that
Yeah, that do that.
shoot
So
the puck that well. You know what I mean?
yeah.
We're lucky. We have a couple of them, but we have Fox, who's probably I don't know. I offensively, he's probably like the third or fourth best, or maybe even second. I don't know. I don't follow the statistically individuals, but I know he's considered one of the best scoring defensemen in the league, and we've had
Yeah.
him for quite a while. He was a draft pick for us, and we have, he when I watch him play, like all those guys play, what what impresses me more than like shooting themselves, it's just like especially like when they're on the power play, those are the guys that when there's a broken play, they keep it from going out off sides. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're keeping the puck, and then someone gets checked, and someone tries to turn it. Nope, they stop it and they keep it in, and they keep the
Yeah.
pressure alive and keep the pressure going. So
Yeah.
that kind of stuff is
That's
important
huge.
as well, man. Like the the overall like the game of hockey hasn't really changed. Like
No.
there's two different ways to approach things. You go in on a rush, like on the offensive zone, and then you try and pass your way in, or you dump it in and you check somebody and you just fight in the corners, and then you hope you win those battles, and then you get it back to your defenseman or whatever who's in the corners, and then they set you up for a shot. But it is nice to have those guys deep to shoot, and then you get your big tall dudes in the middle to
Yep.
get the rebounds and knock it home and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
like I said, the game hasn't really changed that much in the strategies and how they do it. But, you could see throughout the generations the different guys that are good at certain things. And to that, that's the big part of a defenseman is being able, especially like when you're in the offensive zone, to help keep that. And then,
Yeah.
rushes are going to happen. So you're going to have to be able to get back quick, even if it's 2-on-1, So the game is so fast, and it's just right now like we got a lot of good hockey to watch, and
Yeah.
we'll see. Rangers are off again until tomorrow. They play Columbus again this time at home. I think they'll be back on track and they'll win that game. Let's see. When did the Lightning play today? They played. Did they play today?
I think they played today. They didn't play yesterday.
Tuesday. Yep. Oh, the Flyers. There you go. Lightning actually have more points than the Flyers, but because the Flyers are in a different conference,
Yeah.
they're the third seed. But the Lightning have 69 points. Flyers have 67. I wouldn't mind watching the Lightning beat them up a little bit.
Yeah.
Get the win.
Yeah. Bassey should be back in net. So we'll see. We'll see.
Maple Leafs who are in front of them. They're playing Vegas, so hopefully Toronto takes that L, gets you a little bit closer.
Yeah. Hope so. Hope
Oh
so.
well. Hope so is right. Basketball, not much going on. Knicks kind of got fortunate of some no calls last night. The last sequence of plays was crazy because the refs just swallowed the whistle, and I know the Pistons coach was pissed, and he was just like, well, we saw the things, we're gonna send it into the office, like they know, whatever.
Yeah.
That game was physical for all freaking game, and it was like, once a game gets that physical, it's like, okay, yeah, this fouls, but we're not gonna call them. I've
Yeah.
seen that not just in this game, but in a lot of other games, and to me, there's some blatant stuff that never gets called, and it's frustrating. But then there's ticky tack fouls that get called, and that's more frustrating. I figure it's like pick your poison. I like seeing how the Knicks got screwed over in Houston, and how this one is. I think I'd rather get screwed over by a non-call than get screwed over by a bad call.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
Same.
if you had to make that choice, they're both wrong. You want the right call made,
Yeah.
but like I'd rather get because in the Houston, Brunson got called for a foul that wasn't a foul,
Yeah.
and they couldn't overturn it. So that was wrong. I'd rather just be like, hey, that was a foul. We didn't call it. We missed it, or you guys have been fucking fouling each other all game, so we're just gonna let you play it out. So at the end of the day, if I had to chew my poison, I would rather, have a non-call than a call, because a call makes it look like you were on the take. An on-call looks like you're fucking blind.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure. But
you
I feel
know,
like if you're like you're saying,
because
if it's very, you know, if it's very rough already in the hole and they're not calling that, then you already know that as a player. Like, hey, I take the risk to go into this hole and I might not get
right,
that call. You know what I mean? Like they're literally not buzzing it. Like, yeah, the maybe the first period you're in a ref's face, like, yo, you didn't see that, you didn't see that, and then like here comes the second period.
right,
Okay, he's still not calling this. I know that now. You know what I mean? Like they're not dumb. These guys are not dumb. Like they know that. Like they're
right.
taking
You
the
make
risk.
like everything else. And like you know what? It's the coach's job to
Yeah,
complain and show the stuff to the refs. And
yeah,
you know, all these teams do that, and they put the leagues in, and then the league. That's why the league puts out the 2 minute report. We missed this many calls or whatever. You know, like they're gonna miss calls,
yeah,
and a lot of it could be because, like I said, both teams has just been beating the hell out of each other for the whole game, and it's like, you know what, we're gonna let you decide. You know, unless it's obviously egregious, and then but
yeah,
like none of the calls were they all fouls? Probably, but you know, like they weren't being called, and they weren't egregious fouls. It wasn't a flagrant foul. It wasn't anything like that. It was a lot of contact going after loose balls, which really interpreted by the ref could be an on call because it was incidental contact because you know two guys were going for the ball or you go for a steal and you know you're cutting the guy off but he wasn't in position where he was in control so you know, like whatever. It's not that big of a deal. Like I said, if you're gonna make mistakes, I'd rather I'd rather be the victim of a non-call because you can still score the basket while getting fouled. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
You
Like
see it all the
you can
time.
run or you can do whatever. You can fight through the contact and score. You know, or make a pass or whatever. So. Um, you know, it is what it is. I see the Heat won last night. They're continuing their hot streak.
Yeah, they.
Is this is it how many is this a bunch in a row? What's let's
I
see
think
what
three
we
in a
got
row
here.
now. I think three in a row. I'm pretty.
Overall, though, they've been playing much better.
Yeah,
Let's standings. All right, yeah. So now they're officially in the sixth seed because Indiana lost last night, even though they technically they're both 13 games back. Indy has 2 games in hand. But let's see. Miami has won 4 in a row, and they're
four.
8-2 in their last 10.
Okay.
So that's pretty damn good.
Yeah,
You know,
and Jimmy came back and shit
they're
like that.
they're
So
they're they're on the climb. They're only, I think, a little bit. They're just behind Philly, but they're going to pass. They're a game behind Philly, but Philly's 3-7. Philly doesn't have Embiid. The Knicks don't have their 2 starters,
yeah,
and then the Knicks, though, in January built a nice, like they were in second place at one point. So even though they're falling, they're still in that fourth spot, and they're at least 2 games over Philly. So if they can just kind of maintain some ground, play 500 basketball until we get to see some of these guys back. You know, from what I read yesterday, it was very encouraging. Ananobi's supposed to be back by like next week,
nice.
possibly. So maybe 2 more weeks, but still, you know, you have a couple of easier games the next couple, not easier, but hey, you know, below you teams, and
Yeah,
then it gets a little rough because then we got to play Miami and Orlando and Atlanta and Chicago. So like there's some tough ones on the horizon, but if we can at least get one of the guys back, Randall, as of right now, he's training as far as his conditioning, and he really wants to play and come back, but
yeah,
it's gonna be the contact with the contact like once you practice contact drills, that's where it's gonna be a deciding factor because
yeah,
like you don't want to re-injure it. Like obviously he popped out, so things are probably loose. It could happen again. I'm not sure how surgery fixes that. I mean, if he dislocated it and then it caused like a fracture in the thing, then you'd be out for the year. You'd have to have, I don't even know about surgery, but you'd have to be able to pop it back in and wait for it to heal.
yeah,
Um, like surgery would be if he tore some sort of like cartilage or whatever
yeah,
like that. That's the only reason that you would have surgery. for stuff like that. And I've played on a knee with torn cartilage before, and you just brace it up. Obviously, I don't know how a shoulder would work. You can't really brace it. I guess you could put tape on it and stuff like that. But here's, the real thing is going to be like, it's not about him shooting or whatever, or going up for rebounds. Like, you could deal with that. It's the screens, or like if you do fall and you do hit it, you know what I mean? Like, how is your body going to react to that? Because
Yeah.
if it's already injured, it could either pop right out again, which I don't think that was probably not the case. Or like, how is your pain threshold gonna happen when, like, you go to set a screen against a big dude, and then they're just running full force into you. Like, what's that pain gonna be like,
Yeah.
and that is gonna affect you the rest of the game. Now, you could be tough as nails, a warrior, and all that other stuff, but it's gonna affect you,
Yeah.
and whether you're dealing with it, we'll see how that affects him. You know what I mean? Because it might not be that bad. Who knows? It might have been just a freak injury. You get it back in, and then he knows his body whether he can deal with it or not. And it's just a matter of, they'll do some contract drills. Well, they run into it and stuff like that, and then they'll take an MRI afterwards, see how he had hells up to it, and then they'll probably decide. But
Yeah.
it's such a weird injury, and like I said, I think Steph Curry had one, and he returned like 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
So it's possible. We'll see what happens with that kind of stuff. But um, that's really about it. I don't really have anything else, David. We wanted to do a quick little recap show and talk about some of the state of things going on. Not a lot going on tonight. They have a back-to-back, of course, against the Pelicans. This is going to be a rough game for them,
Yeah.
even though they are at home. Like,
And
it's one thing to beat the Pistons, who are bad, but the Pelicans are a really good team. So
yeah, we just beat them like the
Zion
night before, and
play,
Zion's playing really good. I thought they were gonna. It was a closer game till like the end of the fourth. Then it was like then the Heat were up by like 15. Then it was over. But
right?
they were keeping it in there. But like,
Zion might not play.
oh no, you're good.
That will help if he doesn't
Yeah, that would
play.
definitely
But the
help.
rest of the team, like the Pelicans, are a really good
Yeah,
team,
they are.
and not being at full capacity on the second night of a back to back, I don't know. I don't like our chances tonight, but you play the games.
You play the games because you don't know that
Like I
until
said,
the
you
end.
just got to win a game like you had to win last night. If they would have, and it was a close game. If you lost last night, that would have been brutal. Those are the games you have to win when you're trying to stay afloat, and not,
Yeah.
because you lost a couple of your best players. So tonight's a game where you're probably going to lose, but you try. Obviously, you want to try and win that. That's a huge thing. So because then after the Pelicans, we got the Warriors, and they've been playing really good. So like,
Yeah.
the Warriors, though, they don't have a lot of size, so we'll match up well against them. Because right now teams that have size they're gonna have their way with us, because we don't. That's what we're missing. Our top big men. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if we play a team that doesn't have a lot of size, we can probably match up well. But still, the Warriors are much better than they have been. They've been pretty hot too. So and then after the Warriors, we got the Cavs. Again, that's going to be rough. Even though that's the target date for Obi and Obi coming back, but the Cavs right now are playing really well. They're the second best team in the league. And then we got the Hawks, Magic, Sixers, and then Sixers. So we have some up and down things coming up, but we'll see. Let's get healthy, and that's about it.
That's it.
Anything? Any lasting comments, Dave?
Yeah, we want to appreciate you guys. We are on Kick now. We do go live Saturday and Sundays now, so we appreciate you guys
Yeah, why
stopping
not?
by. Yeah, we go on for at least like an
Wow.
hour, and we're gonna try to go nighttime, like we keep saying. One of these nights we're gonna go live. I know we are. We want to see the night people. We want to see the people in there. But hey, if you guys like the content when we're live, hey, just stop by. We answer all the questions that come in chat, so we do appreciate you. Thank you everybody for your time as always. We'll have all these videos up. We're getting to our 50th episode, so we gotta do a big 50 episode. You know what I
Crazy.
mean? So we do appreciate you all, and thank you, and we love you, and we will see you guys on Thursday.
All right, later.
And we're out.